This is my Future Sight podcast, episode 2, 3D printing and nano health. Nano technology for the purpose of solving health issues. First off, with 3D printing, the factor that is obviously going to be the future of manufacturing, the future of production, making things and building things will be done with 3D printing concepts. Long overdue. As a kid, I definitely had that as an idea. I'm currently 39, so there's that. So, yeah, 3D printing, we're going to do a lot of things with the concept of 3D printing, the idea of just being able to create, right, to create things. A lot like in Star Trek, how they have the replicator, where if you ask for a pizza, it'll replicate a pizza, right? Create a pizza. At the base fundamental, subatomic level, what makes a pizza? We'll go from the most basic all the way to advanced, right? So right now, 3D printing, there are some people who doing some 3D printing food, which I definitely always wanted to use 3D printing concepts and technology for, was for 3D printing food, so we can get closer to that replicator concept, right? Star Trek thing. But using it to manufacture anything, just to be able to 3D print anything. Whenever you need a certain piece or part, you can 3D print. So this will also help with if you need to manufacture or create tools, or be able to print out body parts, for example, things of that nature. Just being able to make things quickly, effectively, efficiently, preferably cheaply, of course, but still high quality, just cheaply in manufacturing costs, but still high quality. Imagine 3D printing things out of titanium. How epic that would be, right? Definitely material science will have to be involved. We want to create better materials to use for 3D printing. Something I definitely see that it's been a problem. It's been a problem for a long time. Was the fact that we had a concept for plastics, right? The idea of being able to recycle plastic, but then something went wrong. Mostly because we allowed the world to do things that it shouldn't have done. Like, no company should have been allowed to create products, like plastic products, that aren't easy to recycle or just aren't recyclable. Because we're supposed to have one process. The idea of plastic is the idea that it is recyclable. It's the fact that you can easily produce it, you can easily mold it, shape it into whatever you want, so you can easily manufacture a whole bunch of stuff out of plastic. And it made the stuff durable, cheap, lightweight, if lightweight was a factor, and so forth and so forth. There's so many different applications. Being waterproof, among other things, right? So, plastic had a lot of uses, a lot of versatility, just the concept in itself. So it's like, right, this is great. As long as we can recycle it, then it's not a problem, right? It won't be a problem to nature, to help humans and stuff like that. So it's like, all right, we create something that is really awesome, really versatile, really useful, and we have a way to reuse it. So that way we don't have to keep producing so many when we could just keep reusing what we already created. So if we created, let's say, 1 trillion pounds of plastic, then we just keep recycling that trillion pounds of plastic over and over again for generations and generations, right? That would have been a great concept, right? That would have been very efficient, very effective, very logical. We always want renewable of anything. Anything we can have infinity is always a good thing. It should always be the end goal of any thing we try to do, is to have something that's renewable. So having renewable food, energy, products, materials, whatever, right? Things that we need to function, things we need to keep society, moving forwad, right? Striving, surviving, that kind of good stuff. It's all gravy. Finding ways to make sure people can live long enough to grow and die, right? As opposed to them dying early because of some health issues. And that's where, nano health comes in, right? The idea of being able to create small pieces of technology that we can use to protect people, right? On the inside. It's always useful. And we do our best to try to create environmental protections, like housing, having a house and stuff like that. So that's why 3D printing a house, is going to be the future. 3D printing buildings, because it's going to make it faster and easier, cheaper in many ways to build stuff. If we need something built real quick, it can be built. Like if for some reason we need to build a big wall, for some reason, like it's going to be like a flood or something, the ability to literally just 3D print a wall, if need be helpful, among other reasons why you would do that, right? Being able to use 3D printing just to even fix stuff. Imagine 3D printing an island or something, especially if there was an island somewhere, but now it got all damaged for some reason. And you could just be like, all right, we'll go there, 3D print a replacement, right? 3D print a new island or something. Or we just 3D print islands in general. We just create islands just for the sake of creating islands. And those islands can be whatever we want. I would be surprised one day we literally create a country. Because if I'm right, what is it? There's 9 continents, right? So imagine literally creating a 10th continent, right? Deliberately creating, a big landmass, out in the Atlantic. I think it's Atlantic Ocean. One of the two, whichever one's bigger, Pacific or Atlantic, and just create a big, big landmass, and then, literally create have people live on there. But that's one of the things you have, when you think about is the fact it's like there's only but so much landmass on Earth already, right? And we even got people living on the top and the bottom of the planet, right? In Antarctica and in the south, the North Pole and the South Pole, right? So we have a lot of people on this planet. So I wouldn't be surprised if we try to make more space by creating artificial land. So that wouldn't be a surprise if we start doing stuff like that. But yeah, 3D printing, there's a lot we can do with it. It's just more about the material, less of the technology necessary to operate or control and function, right? To get these things to work. We have that. We have computers and stuff, and people are working on algorithms and AI and all that stuff. So that wouldn't be a problem when it comes to mass producing stuff or manufacturing. It's just more about the material, what we're going to use to create these things. So there's that. And then later on, you get into stuff like ethics, 3D printing, body parts. We know that's not too far off from 3D printing humans in general, or animals, or whatever we want. Whatever living organism we end up wanting to 3D print. And it'd probably be a good idea to try to avoid being in that type of situation where we really print, animals and humans and stuff. And then you get into gene, you get into cloning and all that stuff. So that's for another conversation. Right now, we just want to focus on 3D printing for manufacturing more so than anything. Yes, and being able to use this for creating health products that can help protect people and stuff. And I definitely see some people out there on the internet. I've seen companies use 3D printing to do stuff like make masks and stuff. So that was good to see people utilizing that other technology to help mankind, which is always good. But definitely 3D printing is going to be it's not just going to be like for just manufacturing, like in big building, big factory buildings, companies, and stuff like that. 3D printing is going to eventually be commercial, more commercial than it already is. Everybody's going to have a 3D printer because it's going to be somewhat like a replicator type thing. So it's like it'll be a multi-use device. Yeah, it's gonna do a lot. We're gonna do so much with 3D printing, especially with the fact that we can eventually it's gonna get to a point where there's gonna be more digital products. A lot of people are gonna create like stuff and use with 3D printing in mind, create products like that. Like even I'm thinking of that. Like it'd be nice to have like a business where I sell the information, the data to 3D print something and then sell that. They're selling the object. Instead of me 3D printing something and selling the object itself, I sell the data to 3D print and set it up in a way where it's like, so, a one-time use type thing, right? Or figure out some licensing thing where it's like, yeah, you can download this data and you can use this data like 10 times, so you can at least create 10 copies of the thing that you purchase because you bought the license to do 10 copies. But if you want to produce 10,000 copies of that particular thing, then it will cost way more for that. You know what I mean? So we'll figure out the economy, the economics of that concept. But that would be interesting because I wouldn't be surprised Amazon definitely tries to get into that. Because one, Amazon will definitely try to sell 3D printers on the platform, right? They'll try to sell 3D printers, but not only that, they'll start doing the things where you can buy from Amazon, right? The data necessary to 3D print something, like an action figure or something. So that would be a thing. There'll definitely be a lot of people trying to get involved in that. Yeah. So that'd be a popular way of making money. That'd be a popular thing. We'll see what NFTs will. NFTs definitely might be a factor with that. The idea that someone can literally own like the data necessary to 3D print a specific item, and then by making it where it's not just anyone can 3D print the item, then it will make the item rare. Because once you have the digital copy of the information, you can just pretty much infinitely 3D print the thing that the data is about, unless you create a method in which that there is a limit. So eventually NFTs and stuff like that will be involved in that to make it where it's like, yeah, you can get this data and 3D print this thing at least 3 times, and then after that, you no longer can 3D print. So we'll see how that gets implemented, and definitely will be useful in that regards because, it makes sense. Logically, you want to make it where, if somebody, purchased something, digital content or digital product, as it were, you pretty much want it where like they can't just freely share with a whole bunch of people for free, right? And then you mathematically make way less money off of your your product or your digital product or item because of all the free sharing, that kind of stuff, right? Because it's like when you make music, you want everybody who likes your music to pay for the music so you can make money. So if you have 1 million people who like your music, and you're charging $1 for your music, you want to at least make $1 million. You wouldn't like it if you only made $10 and then 1 million people, enjoying your music, which you appreciate they enjoying your music, but it's like, well, I only got $10. I got millions of fans, but I only made $10, right? That wouldn't correlate. And it's like, hey, that felt like a waste of all that time and effort spent on making music, and I only made $10 off it. Can't make a living off of that. So there's that factor. So definitely got to find a way to prevent that from happening, because you want to be able to keep making money, from everybody who's interested, right? Because that's business. So we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, it would be interesting the fact that that would reduce. You think of it as what's it called? Kind of like a teleporter, right? Where this will drastically reduce shipping time because it'll literally be a quick download, right? You download the data, and then now you can physically print out a physical copy of the thing. What's actually interesting is be able to 3D print like big things, not just small things, but be able because because sometimes I notice like when I order something, like I'll order an exercise bike, for example, and it came in parts. Like it was a big box. Most of it was in parts. I had to put it together, screw it together, and all that stuff, and assemble it. That's what I'm saying. I had to assemble it. So that's the usefulness of 3D printing data, is that you can 3D print all the parts, and then the person, right, has to assemble it afterwards. So there's going to be some assembly required, right? But that's the thing, you can take advantage of that. So not everything has to be pre-built. You can literally make it where it's like they 3D print it, then they put it together, and bang, there, now they have the final product. And you don't have to produce the product up front. So this lowers cost of production because you don't have to build the thing first. And this yes is putting the cost of manufacturing, ironically, right, onto the customer instead of the company that is selling it, right? It's kind of like when you do free shipping, quote unquote, right? But what you really do is just adding the shipping cost to the price of the item you're selling. So actually, so the customer is still paying for shipping. It's just you labeled it as free shipping, but in reality, all you did was add the cost of the shipping to the item you're selling. Sometimes you could do something a little different, where what you're really doing is you are selling the item for the price you're selling it. Like let's say you're selling something for $20, instead of selling it for $25 for shipping purposes, you sell it for $20. But from the sale of the item, you take $5 out, for example, for shipping. So you're taking less profit just to be able to provide somebody quote unquote free shipping, as well as the item for a lower cost. So there's that. So either you take either you pay for shipping from your profit, or you just charge your customer the shipping for with the item. You add the item, the cost of shipping to the item, and take it out that way. So on the customer side, it's just like, oh, free shipping. This one price is all I'm paying for. I'm not paying for this and shipping. But in reality, they're still paying shipping. In reality, in some shape, way, or form, they're paying shipping. So it just depends on, if you want more profit, you charge your customer. And if you're willing to take less profit, then that's coming out of your profit, right? You take less profit so you can offer your customer a lower price. So that kind of stuff. But with the fact that you don't have to do shipping, right, you can charge somebody something. Like what something always annoys me, right, is that I would like to sell something for like maybe 50 cents or $1 through through what is it called, like through the post office or Amazon or something like that, right? I would like to be able to sell something to somebody for like $1, for example. But the thing is that the cost of envelope, stamps, this, and third, right? Cost of shipping eats up the sale. So it's hard to sell somebody something for $1 when it would cost you up to $1 for stamps and envelope, right? Just to ship it, just to send it to somebody. And then there's a possibility that it could get lost. That happens. So, through the mail, it gets lost in the mail. Post office messes up somewhere, and the item gets lost. So you wasted money, time in that situation. And then it makes you look bad because the item didn't get to its final destination, among other things. Plus, there's the whole shipping thing, right? I mean, the tracking thing. If you didn't add tracking, which costs more money, you see a lot of problems compound that makes it tough to sell something for $1, through the internet, stuff like that. selling something for $1 in person, where you meet somebody, they give you $1, you give them the item. Okay, that simplifies things. But if you're trying to sell through the internet, then there's all these added costs. So being able to sell something to somebody, just sell them like, okay, here's the data for this particular item, and it's only gonna cost $1 for it just to get the data. It's simpler, right? Because it's digital. I can sell you the digital information for $1. There, I get my $1. No shipping and all this extra stuff I have to deal with. No getting lost, no tracking numbers to try to prevent it from getting lost. All this extra stuff. None of this hassle, and the person quickly and that's another thing. Time. They get what they want real quick, but they have to pay for the extra cost, which is printing, right? Printing the thing, which at that point in time will probably be cheaper. So that's the thing. Eventually, it'll be cheap for people to 3D print in their house, in their office, or wherever they're at, right? Eventually, it'll be easy to 3D print. So that'd be a very popular thing for people to buy, invest in 3D printers, and then just go online and just download a whole bunch of stuff they can 3D print, and then 3D print, and there you go. And that just simplifies stuff. That simplifies the time it takes to receive, the thing you want, and so on and so forth, right? And a lot can happen. I wouldn't be surprised that there'll be we'll do like 3D printing art, for example, where like you can literally go online and buy art off of somebody. Somebody literally like painted something, but they took the data from when they painted the art, and let's say the idea is that they want to sell the art multiple times, right? So the data is stored for the art that they painted, and then you'll literally have either a feature on the 3D printer that can actually paint and just like start painting and paint the painting as the way it was painted originally, so it can just reproduce the art, and then bang, there now you have an actual painting instead of just like a digital representation, of the art. You can have something that's actually painted with actual paint, like paintbrush was used in everything, right? Paint an actual paintbrush, and it was actually painted. So that could be a factor with 3D printing. What else? I had this funny idea that I keep seeing the idea of 3D printing houses, but the way they do it is like they do it a lot like the way a 3D printer does. It's just like adding layers upon layers upon layers, trying to build something. It's like, yeah, I never really liked that process because it looks very very shitty. Like it looks very shitty, and then you have to kind of sand it and do all this. Like you got to do more to make it look nice. I wanted that you can make it look nice right off the bat. Granted, things will always require some effort, eventually. But I was like, what's interesting is like, well, the way we build buildings already, especially with cinder blocks and cement, it's kind of like Lego. But the thing is we kind of super glue the Lego as it were. So the cinder blocks are the Legos. We put them together, and then we use the cement to glue it together, to glue all these Lego pieces together, right? That's how we kind of build buildings, right? And when they're not skyscrapers and stuff, obviously, but and it's like, okay, so why don't we just 3D print a whole bunch of like actual like Lego shaped cinder blocks, so you can just put them somewhere, grab another one, put it on top, and just literally just like the way Legos work, just literally put it together, and just everything clips together. And then you can still do the whole, put cement and use the 3D printer just to be like, well, 3D printing, technology, 3D or the 3D building technology, whatever we call it, right? And just, apply the quote unquote super glue onto everything. So that kind of stuff. Because obviously it wouldn't be too hard to make something where it can pick up it could 3D print the block, then put the block put cement where the block's going to be, put the cement down first, then put the block on top of it, and then just keep doing that over and over again. It'd be a fast process where you'll literally build a wall, for example, out of Lego cinder blocks, right? That you cement it together, and then once it dries, bang, you got a wall. And it didn't take that long. And it was done by one device, like one machine did all that. And it probably was operated by one person. Normally work like that will require like maybe 4 or 5, maybe more guys working together. Because you got guys working, making the cement, and then transporting the cement, and then applying the cement, and you got people, carrying and moving around the cinder blocks, and you're trying to line it up and organize and try to make sure everything is perfect and all this stuff. There's a lot of effort goes towards putting up a wall, just one wall. Like let's say a wall of 30 cinder blocks. It requires a lot of manpower for that. And then of course that means when you're paying, right? You're paying an hourly rate. You're paying these workers, right? Well, you're paying a lot of workers, and you're paying for a lot of time. If you can make it where it's just one machine, you're paying one worker to put up a wall, and then they have to put up 4 walls. So you're paying. So let's say it takes an hour per wall. Well, there'll be one worker will be working for 4 hours, putting up 4 walls. And you'll pay them for just 4 hours worth of work for those 4 walls, because you created the ability to do that. So we'll see how that plays out. I won't be surprised that there'll be like mech suit like mech suit like equipment. I'll call it that, equipment, where you can have somebody in this big mech suit. They're literally just essentially like one hand 3D prints, the other hand glues, 3D print glue, right? 3D prints the block, sets the block, glues it, and just keep it over. And then you can literally have like, to speed things up, you probably have like 4 people in these mech suits. One building, one wall. The other one's building another wall, so you have all 4 walls being built in 1 hour. So you have 4 workers in mech suits 3D printing a wall each, and you get 4 walls built real quick within an hour. So within an hour, you have 4 walls built of a building, and then you can work from there and go from there and add all the extra stuff you need to add, and go beyond that. So that's the kind of stuff that I see in the future for 3D printing, for like construction. That's what I'm saying there. 3D printing for products. I definitely like the idea of being able to create a 3D printing store, a website, web page, whatever, where I can sell digital downloads of my 3D printing data, and that probably already exists right now. Obviously, it's just a matter of me finding a good website where I can sell my 3D printing stuff. Have my ideas. What would be extra nice is if I could create the file on the site. Like the site has some online software that allows me to create the data, and then be able to store it and put it for sale, right? And then when somebody wants the data, they pay for the data, and then they get the data and use the data. But then there might be a limit to how many times they can use the data before the data becomes useless, or if they want to use it further, then they have to pay to use it beyond the current limits that it had. We'll see where that goes. And again, NFT might be a factor with that. Might be the new DMC or whatever it's called. So yes, 3D printing. All right, so let's shift over to Nano Technology. I already spent about 30 minutes talking about 3D printing mostly. So nanotechnology, nano health, the idea of using very, very small pieces of technology to cure diseases, or to be able to, do medical related procedures, treatments, surgeries and whatnot on people. For example, there's the idea that I have where you have these little nanobots that you inject into a person. They all travel together to the use of computer, right? They'll be computer controlled, computer guided. Some form of AI or something will be involved probably, and have the nanotech, little robots go to a certain location, right? And let's say it's just for the example, let's say it's some type of I don't know, some type of hemorrhage or something. I think it's called. Basically, just something that's swollen and it's causing a problem because it's swollen. Now, if you could pop it, like cause it to pop it and cause it to leak out whatever fluid is in there that's causing that expansion, that bubble effect, right? Then that will help alleviate the problem, and then of course we can just do the cleanup factor afterwards. So then it's like, but it might be in a spot where it'd be hard to get a needle. You don't want to go too far and just like open a human being up to try to get to that specific area just to pop that particular thing, right? Then instead of doing all of that, you can instead just have somebody take a pill, and in the pill is the the nano little robots. Use a computer system to navigate and guide the little robots to the location, and then what will happen is they'll combine, because at first they're small little pieces, right? But then they'll combine into a bigger piece, like a big thin piece. Basically, they'll turn into a needle, for example, right? And then you can have them move together in unison and pop the whatever you're trying to puncture something, and then create the scenario that you wanted, which is the thing being punctured and the thing releasing whatever it's in there, especially if it's like fluid or something, you want the fluid to come out. Then you could use the nanotech to help clean up the whatever fluid, and for example, and just be able to make sure the fluid doesn't go too far. Maybe make it where you can cause the fluid to, like, I guess maybe solidify it a little bit, just to keep it all in one spot, type of thing. So we'll they'll figure out what they'll want to do with that. But it's a concept. The fact that you can take small little things and have them go somewhere and then make them combine in such a way to create something like tool, basically, like a needle or a knife, like a surgical knife, like a thin razor, and just operate. And you can control it and make it cut like a surgical knife without having to open the person up and then literally sticking a surgical knife into the person's body and then produce the not produce do the procedure, right? The procedure of cutting, right? So this is a way you can reduce the cost of doing the procedure, reduce the risk. There's so many things, so many different things, so many things you can get out of this, right? So many benefits to doing it this way, where you can put small little things in the body that you can control, and let's say something happens to where the stuff you put in the person's body gets stuck in there, like for some reason you can't get it out, or the idea was to leave it in the body anyway, like it's disposable. Then of course you'll design it so it can be biodegradable, so that way the body can deal with it and process it out. Make it where it only lasts for like an hour. So okay, you inject it into a person, use it within an hour's time, and then after an hour it should dissolve. It should no longer be in the body in its original form. It should be in a deteriorated form, or a form in which the body can process it out, because the body, interesting enough, can process stuff like zinc and stuff like that. So imagine using zinc as a material to make these nanobots, so that you can go in there and do what you need to do, the technology. But then after a while, the body can process the zinc, use it for the functions that the body uses zinc for, and then do the zinc stuff. Imagine creating some nanotech out of vitamin C or vitamin D or something like that. Stuff that your body can use, to function. Use that to create tech technology that you can put in the body that can do certain functions, certain tasks that you want it to do, but then eventually dissolve, right? And then the body can use it for other functions and just be a-okay. You know, we're always trying to, or we should, especially as scientists, right? Intellectual people, we should be trying to find ways to do things that doesn't harm the planet and humans, right? So we're always looking for stuff like that. That's why I'm a fan of the Beyond Meat stuff, plant-based, meat and proteins and stuff like that, finding alternative ways to get our source of proteins, as well as our need to have hamburgers and cheeseburgers and hot dogs and stuff like that. Since a lot of us still like stuff like that, but without having to slaughter animals in inhumane ways just to get a burger. So I'm all for finding better ways of doing pretty much the same thing. Because sometimes it's not about creating something new. A lot of times it's about doing something that's already been done for thousands of years, but differently or better. Often, I prefer using the term better. Like plant-based burgers is better than animal-based burgers. It's just my view. So yes, what else we can do in nanotech? Obviously, the ability to somebody can literally take a pill, especially a pill, right? It's funny. Take a pill, right? Take a pill. Use their phone to scan the barcode in the back of their the bottle in which the pill came from, and then be able to, with the power of an app, right? Be able to control, monitor certain functions and stuff like that in the human body through that. That'd be awesome. The ability to self-diagnose, that will lower the cost instead of going to the hospital all the time when you feel sick. Being able to self-diagnose is always better, cost-effective. Sometimes some people just take too long. Some people, assume that they know their body better than anyone else, and then they don't go to the hospital. And then, worst case scenario, the thing is what makes it hard to. There's a couple of reasons why it's hard to go to the hospital, but one of them is definitely time. The other factor is money. If you can't afford, to pay the hospital, you're not going to go to the hospital, right? But that's a bad idea because it can literally cost you your life if you don't go to the hospital. Which is why we need cost-effective self-diagnosing technology that people can have at home. Also, we would like the ability to simplify things. Outsourcing just even I like the idea of being able to go online and just talk to any doctor. The doctor doesn't even have to be my doctor. Doesn't have to be in the same country as me. It could be a doctor from China for all I care, right? As long as they know what they're doing, right? I want a competent, trustworthy doctor, but they can diagnose and be able to do some diagnostics. I mean, even if I have to pay a little bit, like $5 or something for their time for the basic diagnosis, fine, it's worth it. $5, and it didn't take that long. Like it was fast. It probably took let's say it might take 10 to 15 minutes. 10 to 15 minutes, and the doctor makes $5. Hey, sounds like a great deal. It's ridiculous if I had to spend like 2-3 hours trying to see the doctor just for 15 minutes, and then they charge me like $300 or something just for the 15-minute diagnosis. Like, that's some bullshit. I'd rather pay $5 for 15 minutes. You know what I mean? And I would do it more often if that was the case. I would get checked up more often that way. So that's the kind of stuff I'm definitely looking forward to. But that's just a general broad idea of the medical system out there, medical community. Right now we just want to talk mainly about nanotech, the usefulness of things being small and using it for health purposes. Using nanotech to prevent the spread of cancer, using nanotech to prevent the spread of viruses or anything else, using nanotech to prevent the spread of poison or any other toxic thing that could be in the body. Sometimes what happens, I see this, like, I see a lot of, like, you know, I watch, like, medical shows and stuff like that, so I be seeing, and I know th- they're, they're shows, right? So we could be like, oh, that's not real life 100%. Yeah, but they mimic real life close enough. So I get a basic idea. And sometimes I'll see something where, like, it really annoys me. It really pisses me off. I'm like, and I'll be literally, like, yelling at the TV, like, yo, just stop the heart. If you stop the heart, it will stop pushing the disease or the problem, or prevent, you know, the problem from getting worse, because the fact that the heart is still pumping blood to the body is pushing the problem through the body, and it's causing the more issues. You need to stop the heart, but you don't want the person to die, right? So then it's like, okay, stop the heart or slow down the heart drastically, so that way you can um, figure out the problem, especially if you need time. Sometimes there'd be a scenario where they're like, damn, we need time. We need like 15 more minutes or some shit like that for something to happen, like for them to, you know, for treatment or something, or for something to work. And I'd be thinking, like, stop the heart. The heart is part of the problem. The heart's not helping. The heart's hurting the person. Stop the person's heart. You know, stop their heart for the 15 minutes that you need, and then restart it. There should be methods where we can stop the heart for 15 minutes, right, and then restart it, and the person can fine. You need to figure out ways to do stuff like that, or something. Like, there has to be some way where we can, like, minimize the negative effect, the problem that's being caused by letting a certain biological function still function. You know what I mean? Like if there's a kidney that's a problem, um, then clearly and the kidney's causing a problem. More likely it's because it's still, one, there's something wrong with the kidney, and it's attached to the rest of your, you know, your rest of your body's functions. If you can kind of separate it, kind of bypass the kidney, so that way the body can still function, and then you deal with the kidney and figure out what to do, what you're going to do with it, whether you're going to remove it, you know, whether you're going to, maybe you have a solution to fix the problem in general and make it where you don't have to remove it, like whatever it takes after the fact. But at first, you need to find a way to bypass the kidney to make it where the kidney is not being a problem, you know, because if the kidney is a problem, then it's a problem. You need to kind of get it, because I think of humans a lot like a car, or like a computer or something, but mainly like a car, for example, more of an old school car, gas powered car, right? With the fact is, like, when you have an engine problem, you're not going to have the engine turned on, right? You're not going to turn the car on and try to solve the engine problem with the engine still running. It makes no sense. You're going to turn the car engine off. Then you're going to start trying to take the engine apart and try to find out the problem, right? That's logical, right? That's mechanics, right? You're going to try to find the problem. Once you find the problem, you'll fix the problem, replace the problematic part, and then put everything back together, and then turn the engine back on. It's not too different that if you're going to operate on the heart, probably be a good idea to turn the heart off, right? Have it stop functioning, then operate on it, then start it back up, right? That type of logic. So I think the same way when it comes to somebody having a medical issue, you know, there has to be a way to bypass certain things. So I don't want to get off topic, but nanotech, right? We could probably use a nanotechnology to be able to transfer information. Imagine a whole bunch of little nanotech nanos lining up, like I said earlier, like how they connect and create something. You can have nanotech connect in a way that it could literally connect nerves. Let's say there's two nerves, like there was a nerve that was severed. Now you can use the nanotech to go find that severed nerve and start connecting and create a bridge, basically connect from one nerve to the other nerve to transmit the information. Now, if we can make it where that's a little bit of a permanent solution, that'd be pretty nice. But, you know, with enzymes and proteins or whatever, however way we do it scientifically, well, you know, we'll let the chemists and biologists deal with figuring that part out. But being able to just utilize, you know, nanotech to even get to that point, to be able to create the ability to even fix severed nerves and stuff like that, especially when it comes to people who are paralyzed, be able to use that to fix people's eyesight, blindness, because these are some issues I would like to be able to resolve. Blindness. Blindness, right? Deafness. So people, fix hearing problems, fix eye problems, and fix spine injuries, right? Paralyzations, among other things. Like there's ALS. Interesting enough, I have some concepts for that, but ultimately nanotech was the ultimate solution. The reason why I'm even talking about nano health or nanotech in general was the idea that a lot of my solutions for a lot of health problems in the world always go back to the idea that, man, if we had nanotechnology, it would make things easier, because it's technology. It's stuff that we can use, that we can control to get to certain positive outcomes that have very little side effect. That's the other thing about nanotechnology. Yeah, let me get into that real quick. With nanotechnology, there's a higher chance of it being have less negative side effects, or none at all, which is the optimum goal. I always hate when I hear stuff like these commercials, like, "Hey, Zentech," or whatever, something on, right? This will help you with such and such problem, but the side effects are, and then the commercial announcer, right, starts listing all the side effects. I'm like, damn. The side effect of any solution to a medical problem should always be A, it solves the problem. That's a nice side effect. I would love that side effect. Or B, it doesn't work. That's the only side effects that any solution to a problem, any medical problem, should be. It either works or it doesn't. There should never be that, yeah, sometimes it works, but there's the other time your legs shrink, or your hair fall off, or suddenly you get cancer. It's like, wait, wasn't we trying to resolve this cancer? Wasn't the treatment supposed to be to get rid of my cancer, but instead the side effect is that I get another cancer instead? What the hell? That doesn't make sense, right? So it's like the treatment can't be worse than the disease, as they say. So nanotech should be able to alleviate that. Sometimes, they'll make medicine that has a decent function, but because they're doing the buckshot concept, where they're just, shotgun shell concept, where they're just shooting as much of the solution to solve a problem into the body, and hoping that it hits its target, hoping that it finds the problem and solves it, and doesn't create other problems. But the problem is that when you're literally just doing that creates a problem. Right? I mean, it's like if there's a balloon inside a swimming pool, right, floating inside the swimming pool. It'd be better to have a stick with a needle on it, right? If the idea is to pop it, right? It'd be a good idea to have a stick with a needle on it, right? And then just poke the balloon just in the water and pop it, right? If that's the goal. It'd be terrible for you to get a whole bunch of buckets and have your friends, holding buckets, and just dump a whole bunch of needles, right, in, and toss it into the pool, hoping to hit the balloon, and you might actually hit the balloon. But now the swimming pool has all these needles, and 3 minutes from now, there's going to be a whole bunch of people jumping into the pool to swim. Yeah, that's not good, right? That's creating a problem, right? You solved one problem, which was the balloon thing, but now you created another problem. See what I'm saying? So it's like the solution shouldn't be worse than the problem. So nanotech should definitely help with that. It should definitely be a solution with very, very little problems. Very little. I could come up with some problems that it could present, but those are problems that obviously we will try to work on, mitigate, and whatnot. But yeah, right off the bat, man. And the fact that we can use 3D printing to create the nanotech, that's another awesome thing, right? is that we can use 3D printing and again material science to create the nanotech, the nano health. So the fact that you could literally, your doctor could prescribe like, okay, well, we need you to take this, and they'll send the data right to your phone, and then from your phone you transfer the data like through Bluetooth or something. 5G, 6G, 10G, whatever we have by then, right? And transfer the data over to your 3D printer, and the 3D printer will print out the nanotech tablet or something, right? And then you'll take the tablet, you'll swallow it, drink it, or water or something, wash it down, and then it'll start doing its thing, and then they can diagnose through through the internet, through technology, right? And diagnose what's wrong with you more accurately through that than to the doctors guessing based off of your symptoms. The thing about the most common way doctors try to figure out what's wrong with you is by asking you questions, and then you giving them answers. So then you and the doctor are guessing of what's wrong with you. When we could obviously use nanotech and other tech pieces of technology that we have to better diagnose. And definitely, I always want to get back down to the most basic thing is self-diagnosing. Just like I believe people should, start eating healthy, start cooking for themselves, start producing food for themselves and feed themselves that way, instead of relying on companies to create stuff for them to eat, because companies are more likely going to create products, aka trash, aka stuff that's made at low cost because they're trying to make profit, which means it's not actually food, it's just a whole bunch of crap that they were allowed to put together and, be able to get it past law, right? Be able to get it past the CDC or FCC or whatever, FCC or something, be able to convince the world that's like, yeah, it's okay that this item that I'm selling has cement and rat poison. It's okay, small amounts. It's not gonna hurt nobody. Blah 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 blah. So it's safe. But the thing is, I do not want to eat something that has cement and rat poison in it. I don't care how small amount it has. It shouldn't have it in there in the first place. I didn't agree to that. I don't consent to eating stuff with cement and rat poison in it. Are you kidding me? Yet shit like that does exist. Shit like that is actually happening. Which is why I'm like, yeah, we need to start eating healthier. So we need to start eating stuff that grows from the ground. You know what I mean? Like, if I am eating an apple, I should be able to take the seed out the apple and then grow the seed and have an apple tree and then just eat apples. I should eat other things too, of course, but definitely should be eating apples for the rest of my life. I shouldn't be eating bags of chips, and then find out the bag of chips has like cement, rat poison, other toxic materials in there, other things that I definitely don't want in my body, and then we call that food, and that's unfortunate. It's like, no, it's not food. This is trash. And it goes back to the 3D printing thing, where it's like, I want to be able to have better materials, especially when we use 3D printing for food. I want to be able to 3D print stuff that I can, that I know has vitamin D, vitamin C, zinc, a protein, this and that. I know what's in the stuff that I'm eating, and be able to 3D print, whatever I want. If I want a chocolate bar or something, and 3D print a chocolate bar, that'd be way healthier than if I went to go buy a Snickers bar or something. Because there's a high possibility that the Snickers bar has all these additives. It's like, I want all this extra shit. I just want something that tastes good, has some chocolate in it, some peanuts in it, and I want some healthy stuff in it. Because I want to enjoy it, but I also want it to be healthy. I also want it to be good for my body. I don't want to just push shit in my body just so I can feel good, but then in reality, it ain't good for me. And then, I don't live a nice, long life that I would prefer to live. If I'm supposed to live until I'm 90 and then die, then I want to live until I'm 90 and then. I don't want to die 60, 30 years before I'm supposed to. Why? Because companies want to sell me shit that has cement and rat poison in it. Are you kidding me? So we definitely need to do better. This is not about, eating healthy, but I definitely had to put that in there. It's like, yeah, we need to do better. But hopefully soon 3D printing will help us with better eating habits, eating healthier, being able to eat 3D print stuff that specifically has a certain amount of calories. If we're doing 3D printing for food, which I'm definitely a fan of. I love the idea of just being able to 3D print a whole bunch of cookies and just be snacking on a whole bunch of chips and snack on it. But in reality, they're just proteins. Like, yeah, these are protein chips, but they taste like Doritos or something. But they're protein chips. You know, they're they're made out of specific ingredients, healthy ingredients. But you know, my mind doesn't know no better because when I take a bite, it tastes like Doritos. But in reality, they're just proteins and vitamin C and D or something, or vitamin E or something like that. Right? So that would be awesome. But yeah, man, nanotech, so much potential. You know, when it comes to nanotech, wouldn't be surprised if we use nanotech for 3D printing, nanotech for building 3D houses, right? So that wouldn't be too surprising. See how that pans out. Using 3D printing for making nanotech would be interesting. Not much to say about nanotech other than the fact that the stuff will be small, so it should be relatively cheap, to create, because it's literally takes up very little material to create the nanotech, so it should definitely be very cost effective. Same as 3D printing with better material for the 3D printing processes. We can literally create anything and make it where we don't have to ship things as much, and that will reduce a lot of issues, a lot of things. Granted, it will also reduce a lot of jobs. There's probably people who rely on driving trucks, among other things, because I mean we're already doing self-driving trucks, self-driving vehicles. That we're gonna have self-driving, bullet trains or boats and stuff that's going to transport materials and stuff. The funny thing is, the only thing. Well, actually, they already created 3D printers that can 3D print 3D printers. Think about that. Like if you literally need a new 3D printer, if your 3D printer still functions well enough to 3D print a new 3D printer, then you can literally download the data, 3D print a new 3D printer, put it together, and then throw out the old one. You can probably use the old one as material. Like you can recycle the old one and use it as material for your new 3D printer. Like that's gonna be some crazy shit once we get to that point. Right? That'd be epic. But yeah, it was funny to hear that in the news somewhere online. The idea that a 3D printer knows how to 3D print the parts, its own parts, so you could literally create a new 3D, create a new 3D printer that has the knowledge and ability to 3D print new 3D printers, right? So there's stuff like that. A lot's happening in the 3D printing space. I'm definitely a fan of it. If you want to invest more into 3D printing companies, because definitely it's profitable. I definitely support the idea of 3D printing in the future. There's a lot of potential of things we can do with 3D printing. We could 3D print on Mars, 3D print space, 3D print on the water, and so forth and so forth. Shit, 3D printing in bodies. I mean, recently I read an article about 3D printing stuff inside the body. So 3D printing like a bone or something, or some type of organ or something that needed in the body, so that way you don't have to 3D print it outside the body and then put it into the body. In fact, you could 3D print it in the body, so that way it's already where it's supposed to be, and we go from there. What'll be interesting is if you have a kidney that's damaged and put in a 3D printing technology into the person's body and use the old kidney as materials for the new kidney. So that way you're literally recycling the old kidney and creating a new kidney from the old kidney. That would be some interesting stuff. That way we don't have to do kidney transplants and stuff like that and look for a donor when your old kidney can literally be the donor for your new kidney, because you're actually literally recycling it. So we'll see how that works out. But yeah, future is going to be really, really interesting, with 3D printing and nanotech, depending on how we use it. And of course, for nanotech to be, and 3D print to be really, really effective, AI will need to be involved. AI is for another conversation. I do have my issues with AI, but I also do see the great potential it has for making life better, but also worse for mankind. Guess I'll end that